Grace Hour, the live international talk radio ministry of Greater Grace Church in Baltimore, Maryland. You can join us on the air today by calling 1-800-338-7060 or 410-483-3700 from outside of the United States. Now, here is our host.
And welcome, friends, to this edition of the Grace Hour. Once again, we're broadcasting live right here from our studios, which are located at the home of the Greater Grace World Outreach in Baltimore, Maryland. Great to have you with us on this Thursday afternoon, friends. And if you've been listening to the broadcast throughout this week, you know that we'll be playing a tape message today and tomorrow. The message that you'll be listening to will be The Greatest Battle Ever Fought. That's the title of it. Today, we'll be playing that message from Pastor Stevens, the first part of it, and tomorrow, the conclusion, again, the second part in the message entitled The Greatest Battle Ever Fought. You won't want to miss it because it's one of those classic messages that we have been listening to throughout the years, one of the hallmark messages from the preaching and teaching ministry of the founder of the Grace Hour, Pastor Carl Stevens. So that's coming up momentarily. We want to remind you that, of course, following his message today, we'll open the phone lines, and you can join us live on the broadcast. All you need to do is get to a phone, dial one of the following numbers. 800-338-7060, that's toll-free, and locally in Baltimore, 410-483-3700. Emails can be sent to the broadcast here anytime you like. Our email address is questions@gracehour.org. Tweet us your comment or question at The Grace Hour. And those of you that are watching on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, you can, of course, send us your comments or ask your questions anytime during the broadcast. Again, we want to welcome our local listeners on WRBS 1230 on your AM dial. Everyone else tuning in around the globe live on the internet at gracehour.org and Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Great to have everyone with us today on this Thursday afternoon. Again, this is Passion Week, and today we'll be playing the message from Pastor Stevens entitled, The Greatest Battle Ever Fought.
The greatest battle ever fought is described in Colossians 2, when all the forces of God met with all the forces of hell. The place of that battle was the hill of Golgotha, preceded by the Garden of Gethsemane. The battle was the battle of all the ages. It was the battle of battles. If Jesus Christ remained dead, Satan had succeeded in ascending above God. If Jesus Christ came forth from the dead, then Satan would be defeated, and Jesus Christ would be God and Lord over him and over everything that he produces or ever produced. I'll repeat that again. If Satan won the victory, then he would succeed in Isaiah 14:12 through 14 in ascending above God, and he would be God above all. But if Jesus Christ came forth from the grave and won a victory over the thing that made Satan victorious up to that point, then Jesus Christ would remain, or I should say, Jesus Christ would be the Lord of all and the God of all. In one sense, only in one sense. Positionally, this is not true. Experientially, because of his commitment to identify with us, it is true. In one sense, Jesus Christ was not Lord of all once he committed himself to identify with us until the cross was over. Do you understand? From the standpoint of his omnipotence, and from the standpoint of his omniscience, he was always and nothing less than God of all. But from the standpoint of absolute evidence and absolute victory, he was not until he actually defeated all that Satan did and did away with all that Satan produced. Now this is the story. This was the earth-shaking battle of all the ages. Sin entered into the human race through a woman, Eve, because of Satan in the Garden of Eden. And sin completely corrupted and polluted all of her seed. And every person born was born of a corruptible seed. And everyone went astray as soon as they were born in Psalm 58:3. In Psalm 51:5, they were conceived in iniquity. They were not conceived in sin, although iniquity is sin. But they were conceived in iniquity, which is Satan's sin, which produces sins because of man's sin. Now let me explain once again, because I've never heard that until the Spirit gave it as a revelation. Never read it. Now listen. Satan's iniquity produced a sin that was found in him in Ezekiel 28:15. And what was his iniquity? 5 times he wanted to rise above God and be like him, but not only be like him, but rise above him. What did Eve want to do? She desired something that she wasn't supposed to have, to be like what? To be like God. You get the point? That's iniquity. Iniquity is simply the first sin. Now there are many sins that derive from the first sin. But iniquity was Satan's sin. And so was it Eve's sin also. Now any sin derived from that iniquity is equally as bad. But simply to relate to something that identifies completely and absolutely with Satan, we use the word iniquity, which produces iniquities. Satan's sins. Now Satan's sins produce our sins because we sin, because we're a sinner. But when we were conceived in his iniquity, then it made us a sinner. Now Eve reproduced herself, and she reproduced children that sinned. It took an individual's free will to commit the act before he was classified a sinner because of God's justice. But nevertheless, the nature inherent, which was sinful, personal, a personal sin, made it absolutely probable that every single person would, with their free volition, sin, inasmuch as that's the only nature they had, a sinful nature. So what was Satan's victory? It was simply this. God, you placed in the garden a woman free of sin. But you placed him with a free volition. I simply came along and tempted him. And they obeyed me. And the moment they obeyed me, you had to step out, and I stepped in. I not only controlled the first woman that you made, but I controlled her husband. Because I knew if I could get to her, and he was one with her, I could get to him. I deceived her, and because of his desire to be one with her, he followed her in sin. Because she was a helpmate, and he didn't want to be detached from the only helpmate that God gave him on earth from his own rib. Because when Eve sinned, part of Adam's sin, because Eve derived from Adam. Now watch me, and you're really going to have to think. You ready? This is it. God created a man and woman. Who made them? God. They were created without personal sin, but with a choice to go against God if they wanted to. If they didn't, they would glorify God. If they did, they'd be separated from God. Genesis 2:16 and 17. Created in a perfect environment, with a perfect heart, but with a choice. And the responsibility of that choice left God with the consequences of that responsibility. Now then, inasmuch as they were made by God, for God, through God, if they sinned, God took upon himself the personal responsibility of taking care of the consequences of what they did. Why? Because he made them. But you say he made them perfect. Right. But nevertheless, he did make them. It was his plan. And if something happened in his plan, he must provide the consequences of a wrong choice. Why? Because they derived from him because of his love, and his love would make it possible for provision if they went wrong on the negative pole of human volition. All right? So they went wrong. Now, inasmuch as Eve was taken out of Adam's rib, inasmuch as she was absolutely a part of the man Adam, Adam had a responsibility. And what was it? If she went wrong, he would identify with her. Why? Because he couldn't help it. She was part of him. She was his other self. Now watch me. He loved her as himself. If she went wrong, the same love would identify with her as he would desire when he went wrong. And loving her as himself, he must identify with her when she went wrong. 1 Timothy 2:12-14, he was not deceived, but the woman was. But Adam was willing to sell all that he had with God and to give up all that he had with God to identify with his other self. Was she guilty? Yes. Did she go against God? Yes. Was he willing to go against God to identify with her? Yes. Jesus Christ created us. Were we guilty when we sinned with our own free will? Yes. Did we go against God? Yes. Was he willing to go against God to identify with us? Yes. Yes. That's how deeply he loved us. He was willing to go against himself, to go against everything that he was in order to redeem us, because he felt the responsibility of the consequences for our negative pole. And so he who knew no sin became sin. Just like Adam, who knew no sin, became sin. And Jesus, who knew no sin, became sin. And the God-man who knew no sin, the God-man became a sinner because we were his other self. Oh, he created us in his own image, even as Eve was made in Adam's image. Eve, taken out of Adam, produced the image of Adam, and we, made by Jesus Christ in Genesis 1:26 and 27, we were made in the image of God, and therefore, though we had a fallen image, God says, I must identify with my fallen image to get them back in redemption and restore them back to the correct image. Oh, God says, I want man to love one another as themselves. And even as the Trinity loves each other as themselves, with a co-equal, immutable love, even when they love one another as himself, Adam is to love Eve as himself, and Jesus Christ loves the church as himself, and therefore he must do to them what he'd want them to do to him, and that is to restore them if they fall, and therefore he absolutely enters into identification of total love and a total commitment to restore that that's been lost. So Satan says to God, you said the wages of sin is separation. And you created him for fellowship, didn't you? But according to your own spiritual laws and according to your own moral attributes, you have no right to fellowship with him, because they're all sinners. And the very purpose, God, that you created man for has been lost. And I charge you with your own truth that you have no right to fellowship with the man that you made, because the man that you made violates the spiritual law that you are. Chalk that one up to Satan. Secondly, he said, you said that the day they partake of the food, the tree, they will die. Well, they took it. And death means to be separated from you, so remember, they're to remain separated. And God's separation to you means fellowship with me or a relationship with me. Just keep that in mind. And God, that's according to your own truth. So leave my crowd alone. And then thirdly, you have said that you cannot look upon iniquity. Habakkuk 1:13. Now you have said you cannot look upon iniquity. And what did Eve do, God? But commit iniquity, which was my original sin. And even as iniquity was found in me, and you had to kick me out, now iniquity is found in her, and you had to kick her out. So she's out, and what she produces is out, and after all, God, she's the mother of all living, so all living creatures are out. Or in other words, God, they're all mine. You created them for your pleasure, Revelation 4:11, for your glory, Isaiah 43:7, but you've got to concede that they're not yours at all. They're all mine. Not only they're not yours, but the very purpose you created them has been dethroned and has been absolutely nullified, and you've got to admit, God, that I have risen or I have been raised above you on the virtue of my victory. And no longer are you there, God. I am. And God conceded in 2 Corinthians 4:4 that Satan was telling the truth. And Jesus Christ himself said that Satan was the god of this world. Satan was telling the truth. Satan says this whole world lies under my government in 1 John 5:19. And the Lord said that's true, and therefore I have nothing to do with him or the world in its system in John 14:30. And all of this prepared the stage for the greatest battle ever fought. Now listen to this next statement. All the Old Testament sacrifices didn't cleanse the conscience of those that brought them because the battle hadn't been won. It was only a theoretical truth that Satan challenged on the reality that it hadn't yet happened in experience. Satan says, go ahead with the blood of your animals, but there's no cleansed conscience out of that. God, you're operating on a theory with your religion. And the Judaizers and all your ceremonies I don't buy. You haven't proven a thing. And listen to my next statement. I'll prove to you you haven't proven a thing, because when you come unto them, they won't even receive you. The world that you made won't recognize its creator. In John 1:10, and your own people will reject you and they will not receive you. And that should prove to you that I am in control. And with all your blood animals and all of your substitute and all of your religion, I'll prove to you it not only doesn't redeem, it not only doesn't deliver, it isn't even effective. It's just a theory. I'm really their God. And you know it. And I'm their God on the basis of truth. They've chosen me, and they've rejected you. What more proofs should you ask for with free volitional agents? And so in Acts 2:23, the plan of the determinate counsel of the Trinity had their day, they had their hour, and they made their move. And I thank God that it's behind me, so that not only can I have the consciousness of the throne in its victory, but the cleansing of the blood in my experience. Something that Old Testament saints never could have. And that's why each succeeding generation since the New Testament covenant is so responsible to the privilege of Jesus Christ's person in his total personal victory. Now, this is what happened. God had his time. God had his appointment. And the cross came into being. Jesus Christ, had he made one single mistake, there would be no family of God, no bride, no church, no heaven for us, and the whole creation of God would have plunged into hell. But he didn't sin. But he was sure tempted. So the greatest battle ever fought now is placed upon the Garden of Gethsemane, when all the forces of hell are ushered in from the four corners of the earth. This is it. We're going to kill this one that claims he's the Messiah. We're going to crucify him. We're going to show him up against the people they're going to find him guilty. He'll be on trial and found guilty. They're going to call him a wine bibber, a friend of the prostitutes, a friend of the crooked publicans, and he's going to be somebody that's proven that he claims to be God but isn't. And we're going to destroy him, and we're not only going to destroy him before the people, but we're going to destroy him before our own angels, and we're going to destroy him before the angels of God that are watching, and we're going to destroy him right in front of God. He hasn't got a chance, because my entire world system is joining me. My entire host of demons, plus every person in the universe, and they're all going to join me, and all of their sins and all of my supernatural power will become one, and we'll kill him. And the strange part of it is, they did. And the strange part of it is, it was our sin, his death. And listen to this next statement, as bad as I hate to say it. He deserved to die only because he identified with people that were guilty. And of course, as far as he goes in himself, of course he didn't. He was pure and perfect and innocent and just. But because he chose to identify as one of us, he did deserve to die, and on the basis of truth, Satan had a right to have him killed because he identified with wicked sinners. God had to turn his back. He did prove him guilty before the Father. He did prove him guilty because he identified with the guilty as a guilty one on the basis of love. And so far, Satan's victory over God so far is a true one, and it's based upon truth so far. Are you with me? And can you imagine the angelic forces of God hovered over the cross saying, "Can't we rescue him?" And the Father said, "I'm not even looking." And they said, "Let us go and take him from the cross. One of us could do it. Let us do it." And the Father said, "I can't even look upon him. He is guilty." Can you imagine the awesomeness of the angels who didn't understand redemption? And when they saw God the Father turn his back in Matthew 27:46 upon Jesus Christ, his only begotten Son, and when they saw the actual reality of God the Father turning his back upon God the Son, and the angels, I'm sure, wanting to rescue the Son, and they had to hear the voice, and they looked at God the Father, and they had to realize that Jesus Christ is guilty of death because he has chosen to become one of us. It was his choice, and therefore he must pay the consequences, because he too was a free will God.
Well, that's the conclusion of the first half of the message entitled The Greatest Battle Ever Fought. And again, that's a message that Grace Hour founder, a host of the broadcast for many years, Pastor Stevens, preached quite some time ago. And yet the truth of it still resonates today in our hearts. For indeed it was the greatest battle ever fought when Christ was led to the cross in the predetermined plan, purpose of God to become sin for us so that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. We want to remind you that the second half of that message is coming up on our Friday broadcast, coming up tomorrow, part 2 of the greatest battle ever fought. So we hope you'll tune in tomorrow at the same time and listen to the conclusion of that message. And again, we'll be celebrating, of course, tomorrow being called Good Friday. And we do want to mention you can join us Friday morning at 11 a.m. for our Good Friday live stream. We'll be in our chapel, and we'll have a presentation of Christ's words from the cross, a time of communion. And again, Good Friday special that will be live streamed at ggwo.org and also at Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And we want to remind our listeners as well, Dolores got a hold of us and said, I'm listening to the Grace Hour and watching on my smartphone. You can do that. If you have a smartphone, listen and watch the Grace Hour. You can, or go to YouTube and look under Greater Grace, and be sure to subscribe and put on the alerts so that you know when the next edition of the Grace Hour is coming up on your smartphone. That's another great way to tune in and listen to the broadcast. Well, we're going to wrap things up here, friends. That message taken up pretty much most of the first half of our broadcast, but we will move into the second half hour with phone lines open and available to you. We hope that you'll weigh in, share your thoughts with us. Here are the numbers, 800-338-7060. You can dial that number anywhere in the United States or Canada, and locally here in the Baltimore area, 410-483-3700. We're looking forward to having you join us during the second half hour. Your comments, questions, testimonies, counseling needs, and your prayer requests. Thanks for joining us, friends. Everyone else, stay right where you are. Another half hour coming your way. And we're back with you live at gracehour.org, Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And welcome to the Thursday edition of the Grace Hour, friends. And as we start the second half hour of today's broadcast, I want to remind you that the phone lines are open, and it's your chance to join us live on the air with your comments, questions. You might have a testimony, a counseling need, or a prayer request. Please pick up that phone and join us live. Again, the telephone number is 800-338-7060. That's the toll-free number. And the local number, 410-483-3700. And friends, we want to mention to you that this Sunday, which of course is the Easter Sunday, we'll be having our drive-in service right here at the Greater Grace World Outreach at 11 a.m. Now, for those of you that are out of town, we'll still be live streaming our 9 a.m. service, and you can watch that live from your homes, of course. We'll be broadcasting live here in our chapel at 9 a.m., and again, tune in for the 9 a.m. service. But if you're able to come out and join us for the 11 a.m. service this Sunday, it's a drive-in service, which means you're going to drive your automobile right into the parking lot here, park it, and you will be able to watch Pastor Schaller preach. He'll be up on a podium, a little bit of a pedestal, kind of lifted a little bit off the ground so that we can all see him in our automobiles. And then you will have a specific dial on your radio that you can, a number rather, on your radio dial that you can tune into and listen to the message. Again, we're not asking anybody to get out of their cars, but just to stay right in their cars.
Be 100.1, I think.
100.1, okay.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. That's all you need to do. And
up on a pedestal, or will we be in a pit?
No, we'll have you up high so
in
people
a puddle.
Can see it. No, rain's not expected till later in the day.
Now, right this moment, I believe Pastor Taggart's going over parking. They're working on it.
Yes.
Offerings, too.
Yeah, we're going to take an
So
offering.
I have a couple of garbage pails out there.
Yeah.
Entry, exit. I don't know how that'll go. The guys are excited.
Yeah.
Paul Nye has a drone. Sebastian and Paul, they got a drone that's going to be flying over, looking down on the parked cars, and it'll be fun. We're like that, aren't we? We're a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
We're honored to be able to proclaim the name of Jesus.
It's the first time that we've tried it. First time
this has ever been done.
Here. Other churches have done it. But we never have.
I haven't seen it. Have you?
I haven't seen it. Well, actually, I did. I saw some pictures on social media where it was happening, I think, in the state of Florida.
Now, the drive-in church service is something like back in the 50s and 60s, the drive-in movies.
Yeah, right.
Now, did you ever go?
Yes.
As a kid?
Yes, absolutely.
You climbed
the station wagon. Yes, and they hook that
classic
speaker
station
on your window. You roll your window
Yes.
down, hook your speaker on it, and there you go.
Yes.
And then your parents just waited until you fell asleep and they drove you home. I don't know how much of the movie we ever saw.
Yeah, you hooked up on the hook on the window.
That's right.
You brought the window down, and the speaker was there. I guess did that work? I mean, that whole system. I mean,
It did.
Apparently, they went
did.
out of business.
It was very popular, but then, of course, with technology, the movies became more available. You could get them watched at home.
The iPhone.
VHS,
Cassette
CDs, all of it. Next thing you know, everybody that had a drive-in
it's
movie
like
theater was out of
50
business.
years. I mean, more than 50 years, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Long time.
Like, there have been a lot of transitions.
Plus, it was seasonal, too.
Now we're going back to it.
Yeah, with the coronavirus, we're going back to it. Before you know it, we'll be driving movies.
But I don't
all
know
over
about
again.
you, but we've been so busy with all the Zoom meetings and
I know.
and everything online. And I mean, the guys here, they're just saying, could we get over this? Could we have others on the learning curve?
Yeah, the
Kinda help
IT
us
department
out?
they've
What?
been out straight, haven't they?
Really?
Unbelievable. But it's been great because I'll tell you who's appreciating it, all the folks that have access to it and they're listening to the messages, whether it's the services or the lunch wraps or the grace hour or the devotionals in the morning. I mean, the classes at NBC&S, it's just nonstop.
Yes, GGCA, all the classes.
GGCA, their
There's
classes
the physics
continue.
and chemistry classes and
That's
math
unbelievable.
and everything.
Yeah,
Oh, my.
yeah. I'm sure the kids.
I thought we were supposed to be like home, locked in. What do you call it?
Yeah.
House arrest. Apostle
Sometimes
Paul
it feels like
was in house arrest, but it didn't stop him from preaching.
No.
Right? The word of God cannot be bound.
Amen.
But I could be bound.
Yeah.
And then on another note, what about the gaining weight?
Well,
We haven't been in the health club or
no,
what's
they're
going
all
on?
closed.
I've noticed you change your clothes.
Yes.
What?
We have to. We got to
What
find a
is
way.
going on?
I don't know, this walking
today
stuff.
I've been eating all day. I had breakfast 2 times. We had an oatmeal. Later I had some eggs. I had some potatoes. I come into church. I had coffee and then pastry, then lunch, and then an orange. Then there's a piece of pizza over at Pastor Shabelli's office. I mean, you got to roll me into the radio room.
You got to get some exercise somehow, some
But
way.
the Corona 19 is what? The 19 stands for what?
19 extra pounds we're all going to have by the time this is all said and done. Oh, my
What is
goodness
happening?
gracious. I
What
know.
is happening? We have to go for walks. What?
Yeah, we have to. You got to do something. You got to find a way. You were
Yeah.
mentioning how your daughter they're doing exercise programs in the garage or something with a couple of people. I mean, it's like, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
We got to try to stay in a good, healthy condition. Well, phone lines are open. Want to hear from you, friends. If you have the opportunity, especially in light of this message, the greatest battle ever fought, weigh in and share your thoughts with us. Carolyn says, hi, pastors. Wow, is this Sunday service being recorded in the parking lot? And the answer to that is yes, right?
But it'll be live streamed also.
Yeah.
So let's say you don't come in your car, but you can watch it at 11. I mean, it might even be, that might be a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, don't come to it. I mean, you're going to get it.
You can still
You're
watch
going to
it.
see it from the drone.
That's right. Yep.
I mean, from the box up on the stadium. What's that called? The box up there where the owners owners are NFL owners. The sport box. No, the box.
I'm trying to think of it,
owners box. What is that?
I should know that.
We're playing Scrabble or something.
I should know that.
But
Yeah,
so
I bet it's probably
the jumbotron. It says up there.
Jumbotron.
The jumbotron.
Oh yeah, you can see that if you're in a stadium, right? They have those huge screens.
Well, what my point is, the 11 o'clock service will be webcasted, right? Live. That'll be right. That'll be on your device at home if you want to stay home. So that'll be at 11. The 9 o'clock will be also.
Yeah.
And that'll, I think, we'll have either you or Pastor Shabelli preach the 9 o'clock message.
Yeah. Lots happening this Sunday. We're going to have a great Easter, aren't we?
Yeah, if we don't fall out of the bucket.
That's what you got to be careful, Pastor Schaller. Yeah. And today
you need a harness on there to get up so high.
Put your seatbelt on when you get up to the top.
There's
some high winds out there this afternoon. I know they want to get you out there for a practice session, but we're having 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts out there. We don't want to see you, go off the top too soon. Hey, the coronavirus is forcing us to do some strange things, isn't it? I mean,
Well, we got Skybox.
That's Skybox. But you're right. It's the owner's box. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Those with the celebrities all sit.
Okay.
And
Skybox. So we'll have the drone.
Luxury boxes.
We'll have
Skyboxes. There you go, Ira.
And then we got the cars pulling in and lining up, and then I think instead of clapping our hands, we might just put on our windshield wipers.
Yeah, there you go. That's a way to respond.
Okay.
To say amen, put your windshield wipers on. That's how they'll know. You'll know how they're responding.
I know I'm being silly, but why not do it? Hey,
we're having
it's
a
fun.
good time with it.
And based on the message of the greatest battle ever fought, and I mean, you could just park on that title, the greatest battle ever fought. Battles in warfare are sometimes very decisive, and this battle was such a big one, and because of the nature of it, then we can laugh a lot.
Yeah,
we are free.
Freedom.
We are free. We have a lot to rejoice in. We are the happiest people in the world. Now, earlier we talked about being afraid of death, and I think that there are a lot of people that are the fear, the anxiety, and the fear of what we're looking at. Not everybody is wired to look at things in a mature way. Not just wired, but they've practiced or disciplined to live a certain way and think a certain way. And we just want to say that God does want us to think a certain way. He wants us to think in a mature way, and facing death is one of them. But if you're not in the habit of facing death in a mature way with a mind that says, I have overcome you, I am victorious over you, I will one day leave my body, and I will be in the presence of God. If you are not in the habit of thinking those thoughts, then you could be, more than locked down in your house. You may be really locked down in your soul and really afraid in the wrong way. Respecting it. Death is our last enemy, and we're not playing around with it. But we are the ones through Christ that are able to handle it and look at it, right in the face, and say, okay, there's the death of a famous man. I'm trying to remember, and he said to the doctor, his death's come, and the doctor is saying basically, you have a little bit of time. death is outside in the backyard. Death is out there in the backyard. He's outside. And then after a little while, the patient said to the doctor, "Doctor, tell death he can come in now. I can meet him. I can meet him. Go ahead. I'm not afraid of him. Tell him he can come in now." Like that little story is reflecting an attitude that, we in maturity in Christ, we grow up in him, and we actually are able to say, I'm not avoiding the conversation. I'm ready to face. I'm not avoiding the reality. I'm actually able to look at it like that. That's a beautiful way of thinking. And my question is that how, Pastor Love, is that how we should be looking at it?
Absolutely. Because, as you said, the connection between the message that we heard today, the greatest battle ever fought, he defeated death. I mean, that's what the work of the cross also accomplished, not only removing our sins and defeating Satan, but defeating death, the last great enemy. It's swallowed up in victory, and it's lost its sting, and it has no more power over us. So it's, and as we were speaking a few moments before the message started, that, there are so many people, they never talk about death. But we talk about it often. We're talking about it right now. Mm-hmm. And it's okay, because it's not something that's controlling us or has dominion over us, or, the fear of it has been removed and the sting is taken out by the cross.
Now, let me introduce a thought here, and it is, I went into a gas station up the road. There's a Dunkin' Donuts connected with that gas station. And then the gas station is where they play the lottery and all these different games. Is it Keno?
Yes.
Keno is one of them, yes. And lottery and the horse races and everything. So I'm there with a couple of brothers. We're at the Dunkin' Donuts, and it's in the same room, but I mean they're separate businesses. So I'm having a coffee, and I just see, always I see 2, 3, 4, 5 people there playing those games, So sometimes I've talked to those people, like, have you won, Yeah, I won $11, not much, $17, and they get into it. Now, the point is, they're playing a game of chance that they're drawn into it, and their interest is winning money. They want to win money, which is who wouldn't want to have money? But the thing is what is it eating? What is that thing taking from them? What is their mindset? Their mind is completely occupied with the excitement. It's actually an addiction. So it's kind of like flypaper. If you get caught in have you ever had those mouse traps that are like glue? Mm-hmm. And the mouse goes in and it gets stuck, and it can't get out of there, right?
Right.
Like it seems that the nature of man can get into flypaper or in one of those mouse traps, and he just cannot be thinking the way we are talking right now, which is this one, is that Jesus came so that your occupation would be with other people. Your occupation would be with God. Your occupation would be faith. Your occupation would be an adventure of faith. Your freedom would be in love. You would be, but these people, I mean, I watch them. I see them. I think they don't care about me. They don't care about each other. They're just talking about, they're buying the tickets and then they're scratching them off. And they're just there. And then the next Saturday they'll be there, and they'll be doing this, and they just do this. This is the way of life, and it's a mindset, And I just say that I think it's a great mistake when the flypaper of life catches me and my life starts to be consumed with something that it may never happen. If it does happen, it happens at such a shallow level, like $11 or $100 or something. It's like, you're dreaming. There isn't any, you're living in a fool's paradise. Even if you were to win, it has consumed and sucked the life out of you. Do you care about other people? Do you realize what is going on in the world? Do you care about God? Do you know that God made you with a purpose? These kind of thoughts are not happening in their hearts and minds. Mm-hmm. Then one day death does come up, knock on the door, the coronavirus or car accident or the flu or whatever, cancer, whatever it might be, and I just look at that person and just say, why not now accept Jesus in your life? And I'm sorry I can't say or do anything about it, but
it's the inevitable. It's something that you can't. I mean, everybody has an appointment with it. Everybody, and we prepare for all of the other appointments in life. We plan to be there, unless because of unforeseen circumstances. Okay. But we have an appointment with death.
Yeah.
Scripture tells us that.
Yes.
And you're not going to miss it. It doesn't matter who you are. One death per person. That's the way it's measured out. And we're all going to face that day, but we don't have to face it with fear. Thank God. Well, if you'd like to join us, friends, the phone lines are open. And boy, isn't it great that we're not gambling with our eternal salvation? That's for sure. I mean, it's a sure thing. It's certain. And as you said last night in your message, how do we know that? People want to ask us, well, how do you know these things? We have the scriptures.
Yes.
We have the objective truth that God has given us. We can count on it. We can rely on it. He cannot lie. He gives us his word, and we enter into this eternal relationship with him, and his word just doesn't fail.
Yeah, boy, that is a good word. I mean, I'm in my dream world as I am, scratching off the ticket, and God is right there next to me saying, if you could take me, I'll give you the adventure of your life. I will use you. I will speak to you. I will guide you. Oh, I could put you on the moon if I wanted to. I mean, I will anoint you. I will encourage you. I will love you. I will put love in your heart. I will prepare you for life, and you'll be able to handle life. This is a big thing to be able to handle life, but you're going to be able to do. But if you stay in your small world, scratching off numbers, and you think that, and I don't, okay, somebody does it out of fun or they do it, but I'm talking about being locked into that, and that's your life. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's your world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
Like that, you're stuck in a mousetrap with glue, and that thing is not letting you go.
Wow.
And you got to do that.
It's true.
And you take $20 every week, $40, $50 every week, and you go to that same place, and you're scratching it off, and you're so excited about it. That's your world. But I mean, I'm telling you that Jesus is a greater thrill than anything this world gives. That one you will be thirsting again, but this one you will never thirst. That's amazing. Yeah.
Come to Christ and have an adventure of a lifetime, because God will do things for you and take you places you could never even imagine yourself going. That's amazing. What a life we have in Christ. Well, let's see. Thea has written to us as facing death is in a mature way. That's what we need to think. Think about others, respecting others. How about wearing face masks and social distancing? Yes, of course. We can be carriers. We can be healthy, but pass on the virus on to others who have weak immune systems. Correct or not correct? Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, wait a minute. Now, Pastor Love, I ran out of coffee the other night. I'm at home in the evening, and I go, I want to go get coffee, but I don't want to get the virus, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I believe God's protecting us.
Yeah.
I believe that. At the same time, I don't want to be foolish.
Mm-hmm.
So I say to my wife, do we have any masks or gloves and stuff? She goes, yeah, they're in my car. I have some in my car. So I take her car, I put on the mask, I go to a store called Sprouts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure.
I decide not to go to Walmart or one of these other, where there are a lot of people maybe that go
Right.
there every day.
Sure.
But I go to this other one, but I go in with my gloves on. I'm holding my hands up like this, like a surgeon.
Right.
And I'm joking around because I have a good time, like all of us, with this. I put the mask on, and I just start to feel like I should do this all the time. I love it. This is amazing. This store is dirty. It isn't actually, but I'm saying there's bacteria pathogens everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm going in the store. And other people are wearing the gloves and masks, and I'm just having a very good time. And I meet a guy as I'm walking in. He's coming out he's a little bit like me, maybe, my age.
Uh-huh.
And I go, wow, we say it through the mask, Can you believe this? he goes, yeah, this is crazy. So, we have a good time. I love the American people. I can't believe the obedience and the attitude and the working together and the submission and this thing that we have pulled off has been amazing, in my opinion. I didn't realize we would be able to do this.
Yeah.
But we did.
Yeah.
And we're wearing gloves and masks, and we're caring about each other, and all of this. This is beautiful.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if any of the numbers that we're hearing about now are accurate, it's working.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yes, it is.
Starting to get beyond that bump and get over the curve, and we're all excited about that,
Yeah.
because that means and I some people say, I've heard a lot of people say, I cannot wait till we get back to normal. Well, I hope we never get back to normal. Right? I hope that we get through
Gonna
this and we're
progress.
changed.
We're progressed.
Right. There's something more, something better.
Yes.
We don't want to go back to normal.
And not the Antichrist.
No, not
We
that.
don't mean that.
No, not
Yeah.
at all.
No. But it'll be a crisis like this that will launch the Antichrist into his career.
Mm.
It'll be something that'll happen on a worldwide scale where people will say, I need security, and we need a leader that's going to provide that. And this guy will be an exceptional human being.
Yeah.
I mean, really, he'll
Right.
be an amazing person, whoever he is. But that'll be exactly where it's going to go, and we can see that happening and potentially, but I'm not all uptight about it. I don't think I'm going to really be here. We will be here when that is happening, and the church will be gone. And in any case, I mean, I believe that, but in any case, I mean, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. I don't live like that. I live in Jesus, and Jesus has overcome the world.
Amen.
Yeah.
Boy, that's encouraging to hear. Well, a number of folks have written to us Facebook Live. Their comments are saying, well, as we have this drive-in service on Sunday at 11 a.m., can we bring our offerings, our tithes? The answer to that is yes. Exactly how they will be collected, well, you'll know that when you get here. There will be a system in place where you won't have to have any, contact with others, and you'll be able to bring your tithes and your offerings.
Large quantities of money.
Yes.
What?
There'll be a
U-Haul
provision.
trailers. What?
There'll be
Gold
provision.
and silver.
We'll
Yeah.
collect it like the children of
But,
Israel
but,
did.
but that being said, come a little bit early, get a parking spot. You got to find a bathroom. Use a bathroom before you go. So don't drink a lot, because we don't provide any bathroom. There's no bathrooms here, and there's no porta potties available. So
That's right.
that's a very big deal. And,
Yeah.
So the service for our age group will be about 11 minutes long.
Everybody else, an hour.
No, we can't have a long service because of that, I think. I mean,
Exactly.
you drive here, you will have a 50-minute service or something. I don't know, really. I don't actually know how it's going
Yeah.
to go.
Well, we don't, because we've never done it before. But
Yeah, and then you can go and
It's going to happen.
Yeah. it'd be great.
And there will be a provision for the collection of your tithes and offerings. We can just say that.
Yeah.
Probably when you leave the service somehow, there'll be a
The
provision.
drop-off place.
Yes.
With a guard.
Yep.
There's a couple guards.
Armed guards.
Barbed wire set up. See, I'm just having.
Yeah, we're having fun.
Hey,
We have to.
I got it. We don't do drugs or drink or
That's
anything.
right. That's right.
We just goof around sometimes.
We have a lot of fun, a lot of laughter.
Yeah.
And Jane writes, amazing, a healing presentation today and by faith. Amen. And, Patrick writes, when we will go through the shadow of death, but Christ tasted death for each one of us, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that a trick question?
No, I think he wants to know that.
Yeah, I think he means, well, it's clear what he means.
Yeah.
Patrick knows.
Just
Yeah.
through the valley of the shadow of death. I mean, shadows don't hurt us.
Yeah, right.
Right?
The shadow. When a guy's playing baseball in a stadium and the stadium is casting a shadow on the field, it really means nothing to the player, right? The guy plays the ball and he plays the game, and the shadow means nothing to him. In a similar way, there is the shadow of death, but not the reality of death.
Yeah.
It has really nothing to do with how we play the game.
That's right.
It doesn't have any real
impact
thing. Yeah,
at all.
Except our bodies drop to the ground. Except, our blood pressure goes to zero.
That's right. We'll leave behind the vehicle, but our souls will be taken into God's presence.
Yeah.
Linda Sargent says, hey, we can have my husband Lloyd come out of retirement to guard the offering.
Oh,
Hey,
Lloyd
come
is
on,
one
Lloyd.
of our heroes. He's
Yeah.
one of our first
That's
security
right.
guys.
That's right. You want to drive up
Lloyd.
here for that, Lloyd?
I mean,
Be happy
Lloyd
to have you
is.
do that.
No, he was a good security guy.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, he was serious about it.
Yep.
And he was right there. He was on the team.
Loved people.
Right.
while we did
Wow.
it.
Good to hear from him and Linda. God bless you.
Praying for you.
Are they
too.
living in Florida?
in Florida?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's going to wrap things up, friends. Again, we want to remind you about tomorrow, 11 a.m., the Good Friday live stream right from our chapel. Again, we'll have a presentation on the words of Christ from the cross and a time of communion, which means you can prepare the elements in your home and join us for communion. It's going to be a very special Good Friday. So join us 11 a.m. You go to ggwo.org or Facebook Live and YouTube Live. We'll be back tomorrow for the second half of today's message. God bless you.
Thanks for listening to The Grace Hour. Our live program airs weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Grace Hour is a ministry of the Greater Grace Church. You are invited to visit Greater Grace at 6025 Moravia Park Drive, Baltimore, Maryland, 21206. For more information, go to gracehour.org or call 1-800-338-7060.